Let's go.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Halftime Adjustments. I am your host, Derric Benavides, and as always, I got my best friend, Colton McCarley, with me today. It is a wonderful Tuesday afternoon, December 27th. I hope everybody had a great and happy festive holiday. But we are back, and we are back talking about some fantasy football because for Christmas, I'm pretty sure some people got some bad games from their from their star athletes on their teams. There was a lot of people that let them down this week. I know that's for sure. Colton, are you feeling some repercussions from some of your star players out there?
Oh yeah, big time. I've been burnt by a lot of players. The one that I'm most surprised about though, that just has fallen off, to me, the biggest cliff at least. Nick Chubb. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so frustrating to be a Nick Chubb owner right now because, especially in a keeper league, because here in 2 weeks I have to make the decision of, am I keeping him for the next season? You have to make that decision fast. So
Right.
I now have to go off of the games he's been playing with Deshaun Watson have been nothing but crap. He has not produced. He has not been given the touches, the same workload that he was receiving before. So, I'm having a really, really hard time with deciding if I'm going to lean Nick Chubb again or do I take it in another direction. So, yeah, I've been burnt by him. It hurts.
Yeah, man, that sucks. Since Deshaun Watson has returned, Nick Chubb has only gotten one game over 10 points. Oh,
Yeah, it really hurts.
that's rough. That is very rough. Definitely not something that you want to see from one of your star athletes. And yeah, that's one thing. In keeper, he's a little bit older than Barkley, so he's kind of up there in age as well. So he's one to monitor if next year is anything like this year with Deshaun Watson, then it's trouble for Nick. He was good with Jacoby Brissett, though.
Yeah, I'm a little worried, for sure. I'm a little worried. I don't know what to do with him, but yeah, I think you're right. What is he going to be, 26 this upcoming season? So, still has a few more years of okay, I'm feeling comfortable about him. But yeah, if next season, man, it goes any way like it went this year, I'm moving on from him.
Yeah.
So, Jamar Chase is another guy that just sucked with the injuries. It didn't seem like he could ever get his footing, really. But, that's an injury. Those happen. So, just another one that's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah. I'd like to apologize to all the Stephon Diggs owners out there. 2 targets, 2 receptions, 26 yards. Did Josh Allen just forget that he plays on that team or something? Because
Man, I don't know
that
what's going on
sucks.
there. This is so strange to see this.
Yeah, over the last 3 weeks, he hasn't gotten over, let me see. He hasn't gotten over 10 targets. He got
Wow.
9 targets in week 15. But he only got 5 receptions that game. So
Jeez.
the receptions are so low right now.
Truly, yeah.
Week 14 he only got 5 targets, 3 receptions. Week 15 was a better week for him, but he only got 5 receptions. And then this past week only 2 targets. What is going on? This is something that you don't see from your star guys. This is something that you don't want to see, I should say, from your star guys, especially in the playoff run. He lost a lot of people with games last week.
Is it just
this
being
past week, I should say.
just marked heavily? I'm trying to figure out what the reason is for his sort of demise right now. Is it just, because Gabe Davis is running free, Knox is starting to have a field day. Is it all just because, he can't get free? They're just saying, beat us in another way. And to their credit, they're having success, but are they just saying Stephon Diggs will not beat us, find another direction?
I guess. Honestly, it's surprising to see because, he has gone up against some tough Ds. The Jets is one of them. That was a tough defense.
Yeah.
But he's gone up against worse defenses. He went up against the Jets in Week 9 and put up a solid game. And
True.
But yeah, it's so bizarre to see that. I'm sorry, bro. Like, there's really nothing to say here. Like, it's just like he's just not doing what he's supposed to be doing, I guess.
Which is so
From
weird because for most of the
that
season,
team.
he probably won you your games. Like it's not
Yeah,
like he's been bad all year. He's actually been really, really, really good for most of the season, except for just I don't know the past 3 to 4 weeks is when he's really started to fall off a cliff. But like he's been really awesome the rest of the season. He was wide receiver one for most of the year.
right. Yeah, I don't understand it, dude. I really don't.
Yeah.
Another guy that probably lost to your league was DeAndre Hopkins. Jesus. We knew, honestly, I knew it was going to be bad, and we talked about this last week too, where we knew that McSwirly was going to play, but Hopkins only put up one reception for 4 yards.
Yeah. It's just a
I
bad
mean,
situation.
he got 10 targets. That's the good thing. But all of his target, I was getting so frustrated watching that game because all of his targets were either like underthrown or overthrown or just way off. But yeah, hopefully they have Colt McCoy next week for if you manage to survive like I did with DeAndre Hopkins, then hopefully they have McCoy back this upcoming week so that way he can get some accurate passes thrown to him.
Which is still the second string. It's not like you're still not enjoying that a ton, right?
Yeah, for real. Devontae Adams put up a bad game this past week too. That one was surprising.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
the Raiders are just they're on the bottom of the barrel right now, to be honest. So last 2 weeks though, Devontae Adams has had dead weeks. He's getting the targets. Don't get me wrong. Derek Carr's just not getting it to him. That's the thing. This past week, 2 receptions for 15 yards. That's rough. If he was in your fantasy lineup for this playoff run, then that hurts for
Yeah.
sure. So, just some of the stars that are letting you down. Sorry, everybody, for those of you that had to start these guys because you have to start them. They're your stars. They got you to the playoffs. They got you to where you're at. But yeah, this is rough. These are
Yeah.
pretty rough.
For sure.
All right, let's dive into some news now. First things first, we want to give a shout out to J.J. Watt.
Long career.
He is planning, long career, successful career. He's been so good, but he is planning on retiring after this season. Colton, you had a bold prediction if the Cardinals ever made it to, if the Steelers ever made it to a Super Bowl, he would play with his brother for one last time.
I can see it, man. I think if a team would be willing, like if they have a quick turnaround, because it's got to be within like a reasonable time frame for him. But I could see him
Right.
coming and playing with his brother, and you could have the two Watt brothers on that defensive line, and 50% of J.J. Watt is still probably 3 times better than any average lineman. So,
Right.
it's kind of like Jason Peters right now. He's 41 for the Dallas Cowboys, and they're saying, well, he's playing better than anybody else we have right now, and he's still doing phenomenal. He can't play as many downs and snaps, but if you get an extra 6 or 7 sacks out of J.J. Watt and a season's work, you're pretty happy with that. So yeah, I could see it. You're seeing people want to come back and play with their family and best friends. You saw Gronk do it, so watch him come out of retirement and play with his brother.
Yeah, absolutely. He joined the league back in 2011, so he's been in this league for a while, but he just had a baby, so I guess that's one of the main reasons why he is planning on retiring. So it's good to see. Good for him. So yeah, we will miss him for sure. All right, let's move on from this. Let's talk about Tua's concussion. He is in concussion protocol at this time. We'll monitor the situation, but I wouldn't be surprised if they shut him down for the rest of the season. This is something that you'd fear going into your fantasy playoffs. He hasn't been doing that great though, which is the problem. He's the this last game against the Packers was rough. I mean, he literally had like 3 interceptions. It was a really bad start for him. So yeah, that's something that he needs to sort of work on internally. So, and these Dolphins, they need to win. By the way, they are slowly losing out, and the Patriots are right behind them for the wild card picture in the AFC, and that's something that is surprising. Like, I mean, that race was really close over there in the AFC East, but yeah, the Patriots are right behind the Dolphins, so it's like that's something that's really that should be really concerning for the Dolphins, and they play each other next week. That's the thing. If the Dolphins lose to the Patriots, then the Patriots actually have a shot in getting into the playoffs. So yeah, that's if Tua doesn't play, then that's gonna be a tough task for sure.
Yeah, that would be a bummer. I really hope he plays, but I also think it's concerning that this is like the third time he's been in concussion protocol in a season.
Yeah, for real.
You got to start to worry about that. I think he's a phenomenal player, but like, there was one guy who said after his first concussion, like, yeah, Tua should retire from football. Like it was that bad. And now he has another concussion, and like, man, you got to wonder how many times he can have this before he has to put it away, even though he's a great talent. So, yeah, hope he can pull it together here, because this is not good for him.
Yeah, it's not good for him, and this is worrisome too, because like this is one of those things where he didn't realize that he had a concussion in the game, and after the game he was experiencing symptoms, and that's more alarming. So
Yeah, man,
that's rough. So yeah, more than likely, he's probably not going to play this week. I have him on one of my leagues, so I feel like he might not play unless he passes, at least.
I think it'd be just hard for him because, like, I think especially with him, with what happened last time he was kept in concussion protocol, like, I just don't know, man. How can they justify keeping him in, who's been the poster boy of the bad concussion hit? So. I don't know.
Right.
It's going to be so hard to keep him in this week, I think. But I hope he stays in because it'll be a great game. And I need him this week for my championship. So,
yeah, I mean, he's got the weapons. He should be able to do it.
Right.
But, yeah, we'll see. All
prayers
right, moving on from
to
this. Yeah, prayers up to it. You're my boy. Next set of news: Nathaniel Hackett finally gets fired. We were waiting for this to happen. I thought it would happen in the offseason, but they didn't want to wait.
Long time coming here.
Yeah, for sure. Jerry Rosenberg is the interim head coach over there for the Broncos. I mean, I don't think it's 100% Daniel Hackett's fault. I think 50% is on Russ. But the problem with that is that they have to keep Russ because they've already signed him for a massive deal. So that's
dude. I looked the deal up the other day, and apparently, like, the first out of this contract is in like 2026, and it's still like a $60 million cap hit. Like they are so screwed for so many years to come.
Oh my goodness!
There's
they locked him down
no
for like
outs.
5 years, right?
Yeah,
it
and
was
there's
5 years.
Yeah, and there's so much guaranteed money that like there's just no outs anymore of this deal.
Yikes!
They're in trouble, big time.
Yeah, they're in trouble for sure. But I mean, the one thing you could do is fire Nathaniel Hackett, and they've done it. So we'll see how. We'll see what they do. I mean, they just got embarrassed by the Rams, dude. They got. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I could understand why he would get fired after this embarrassing loss.
Oh yeah, it was so overdue, man, and that I think was the icing on the cake. When you lose that bad to a team that hasn't had, I mean, they're missing Kupp, they're missing Stafford, they're missing Donald, like everyone off that team is injured right now, and you just got embarrassed by him. Like, yeah, that's being outcoached. You got outplayed. The talent is there, so someone else can try to be a more cohesive unit next year and see if they can bring this thing together at all.
Yeah, I mean, it was only a matter of time. The Broncos' defense is good, but it was only a matter of time before the turnovers from Russ are going to I mean, whenever Russ throws a pick six, the defense can't do anything. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no way for yeah. And I mean, you think about it. This is also a defense that just they just gave away Bradley Chubb too. So like,
Yeah.
man, imagine if they kept him, how good this team could look. So I don't know. I hope that they can pull it together. Apparently, there's talks that at the moment, Sean Payton is assembling his next staff. And that it involves Vic Fangio being the defensive coordinator, and that he's looking for an offensive coordinator at this time. But he's putting together his staff. He's going to be coming back, and they are one of the teams. So far, it's the Cardinals, the Cowboys, the Chargers, and the Broncos are the teams that are most likely to land him. They're saying, with the Chargers being the front runners. So we'll see, but that is something that could be in play here is Sean Payton going and coaching this roster.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see Sean Payton over there. It'd be interesting to see if he could fix the problems that are over there offensively, because he was a great offensive coach and coordinator, and he knows what to do over there. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see him go out there and see if he can fix that team. But,
yeah, I mean, I'm here for it. I'd like to see him give it a shot. So hopefully something can come together.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Mike White a little bit. He is starting this week again. He should be able to suit up and start for the Jets once again. The abysmal Zach Wilson will not be starting anymore. Dude.
Finally.
He sucks, dude. Zach Wilson sucks.
Which is so weird. Like a high pick like that, man, he's just tanked so bad.
Yeah. Could you imagine if they got like Justin Fields instead of Zach Wilson over there?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude. Like he was like, I think the biggest part of Zach Wilson was just that he was like a golden child. He looked so good in the combine. He was postered to be like the next big thing. But he's looking like Mitch Trubisky right now, dude. He's like,
and here's the thing. Think about it. So this is, I don't know why NFL teams keep doing this. Like they keep doing this. He's a very similar situation to Trubisky, where like he played at a smaller school. He played at BYU. There wasn't a ton of tape on him. It wasn't phenomenal. He didn't do great in college, but he had a cannon arm. Trubisky was the same way. He played 1 year at Duke. He didn't do phenomenal. He didn't make a push to the playoffs. They didn't have a great record. He just like. They keep taking these guys that are like borderline players, but with high picks. And it's like, okay, I understand some of those guys can turn out. You look at Brady, obviously the poster child for small school, big dreams. But, like they don't always turn out the way you'd want them to. And more often than not, they aren't. And you're passing on really good prospects like Fields. Like he could have completely revolutionized that team. But they're taking the weird path, man, and it bit them hard. And they did it. I mean, they just keep missing on quarterbacks. How many times can they do this?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen a franchise quarterback for the Jets. I mean, I honestly can't even remember in my lifetime. Like, I can't even remember in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
But yeah, I mean, to Zach Wilson's credit, it was raining pretty hard, so it was a bad game overall for any quarterback. But I mean, Trevor Lawrence did it. Like he was able to get stuff going. So I mean, it's rough. All right, moving on to another quarterback. Carson Wentz is supposed to take the reins again over there for the Manders. Taylor Heineke started turning the ball over, so Carson Wentz starts, I guess, right after that. So this is another weird one. I mean, it's just another whatever kind of thing. Like, who cares? Like, they're still going to turn the ball over. But I mean, they need a steady quarterback over there. I feel like Carson Wentz is not going to be a franchise quarterback for this team.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, and so Taylor Heineke, he's been going downhill too. I mean, like they need like a franchise quarterback over there for them to be successful. I think. I mean, they're in the playoffs still. Like they are, if they could win out like the rest of the games, they could easily be in the playoffs. So I guess we'll keep an eye on this.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This team is weird to me because like it doesn't. This is another team that I feel is just sort of directionless. Like I thought a few years ago they had an opportunity. Let's go back and look at that draft. So they drafted, who was it? Chase Young.
Chase Young first, yeah.
Chase Young draft. So let's go back and look at that draft. That was in, what was it? 2020. 2020 draft. Because there were some good quarterbacks that came out of that draft that they okay, so here's what they passed on, and I thought such a weird way to work. So they take Chase Young when they are in need of a quarterback. Joe Burrow goes 1, Chase Young goes 2. They pass on Tua. They pass on Herbert, which is just weird. Also in that draft, they passed on CeeDee Lamb. They passed on Justin Jefferson. Yeah. They passed on Andrew Thomas. They passed on Isaiah Simmons. They passed on a lot of players that, like, man, what are we doing here? And now they're in a spot where they keep winning just enough games to stay relevant, but not enough to get a high pick, but not enough to make it in any like significant capacity either. So like, I just don't know. I don't know where I see this team going, man. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in this, but I feel like they're just destined to be like a 7 and 8 roster or whatever it is, an 8 and 9 roster these days.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, they just need to. I think this next upcoming draft, I think they definitely need to try to aim for a quarterback, even though they're probably not going to get like one of the top guys. Mm-hmm. I really just feel like they need steady quarterback play because they need I should say consistent. But yeah, they just need. They're one of those teams that just needs something in the passing game because they have two really good. They have two really good weapons on the ground. I will say that, and then they do have Terry McLaurin over there. They have Jahan Dotson who's turning it up.
Looks great.
They have all the weapons for the receiving game to be good. They just need somebody to control all of this that is confident and knows and can know the system well enough to be successful.
Absolutely.
For the Commanders. I mean, because this player could be good with Chase Young. I mean, Chase Young is just coming back, and he looked good this past week. He looked really good this past week. I mean, like that's something that you have to. That's something that they kind of have to rebuild around, and this upcoming QB draft class is going to be great. So I mean, maybe they could snag an elite QB. But yeah, it's just something we'll have to look at in the off season. Yeah, which I can't wait for, by the way.
No, yeah, me either. This draft will be really, really fun. Are they going to be one of the teams that says, "Screw it, we're jumping up for one of these top quarterbacks"? And so,
yeah, I mean, they could trade up.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, super interesting. This team, I feel like, and obviously we haven't even gotten around to like. Their owner isn't even like solidified. Oh. They have one of the worst owners in the NFL. So like it starts at the very top. There's so much drama going on at the very top. How much focus can you put on the team right now, and their actual success. So
yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. He has the potential to return back this week. This one worries me a little bit because I'm not too 100% confident in Lamar Jackson, and he could give some owners some butterflies, I should say. I mean, it would be a very risky start decision. First week back, he could potentially hurt himself again. I mean,
take it slow. There's so much, he could be on snap count.
Absolutely. But yeah, I would just monitor the situation. Honestly, I wouldn't start him if he did come back this week. But if you don't have any better options, maybe you have Tua as your other quarterback and you need Lamar to play, then yeah. I mean, here's the real question, Colton. Would you start Justin Herbert or Lamar Jackson if Lamar Jackson returned?
Oh, that is actually a really tough call. I think –
yeah.
That's a good – I think I'm always going to start the guy who's healthy over the guy who's coming back from an injury. And Herbert has sucked these past 2 weeks, but, like, you got to think they're going to try to turn a corner with him, right? Like – they just made the playoffs. They're now they don't have to go out and really I don't know that he's afraid anymore. They just locked down playoffs. So You don't have to play safe ball anymore. Go out, gunsling, be that guy. But like Lamar Jackson, you have to think that his first game back, they're going to really be like, okay, your legs, don't use them. You just hurt your knee. Don't be scrambling a ton. We have JK, we have Gus, we have all these weapons for you. Let them do the hard, heavy lifting. And if you're going to play, you're going to be a pocket guy for a bit. So I just don't know that they're going to take the reins fully off him, even if he does play. So I'd always go with the guy who's healthy, even with his bad play.
Yeah, you got to think that Justin Herbert's going to be able to turn it around in one of these games.
I mean, for real. What are we? This is insane that it's been this long.
Week. He just put up such a bad game.
I hate it. I'm a Herbert owner, and I barely made my championship game by 1 point because he put up like 2.7 points for me last night. Tough, and yeah, I just made it. I was supposed to be like 20 points clear in this game, and I ended up getting just skinning by. So, and I was gonna start Tua, but now he's got a concussion. So, back to Herbert.
All right, let's move on. This is a big one. You got to watch out for this because this game is on Thursday, but Derrick Henry is not practicing with his hip injury. He had a great game last week against the Texans. It wasn't a 200-yard game, but it was still a pretty good game. By the way, Colton, I just want to shout this out. I made a genius call last week.
Okay.
Houston Texans ended up beating the Tennessee Titans.
You did. That was a great
as I predicted.
I got to give it to you. That was pretty crafty to go out on a limb like that and bat for that team of all teams.
Right? The Tennessee Titans are they're on a losing streak, dude. They cannot win a single game.
For real. It's insane.
They're not in first place anymore. They were in first place for the longest time. Now the Jacksonville Jaguars are looking to be into the playoffs now. So
yeah, catching up.
That's crazy. Derrick Henry not practicing, though. That's a big one. They play on Thursday, so you would like to see at least a limited practice on Wednesday, tomorrow. But, yeah, just monitor the situation because this is a big one, especially in Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Got to get these right.
Yeah, for sure. Tough matchup against the Dallas D, though, too.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
tough.
Unless you're in a position like me where I'm fortunate enough to, I'm going against my fiance this week. We both made it in to the Super Bowl and have agreed to just split the pot. Why not? So yeah, we both come out winners here, which I'm kind of glad she agreed to because she definitely has a better squad. So she could have said no, and I would have walked away with like $100 instead of $275. So I'm happy. This works.
Nice. Y'all some cheaters.
Oh, we didn't cheat to get here, but hey, you know what? We'll take it since we're here now.
Yeah. All right, Colton. I want to hear it from you, dude. You called it last week with Zach Moss. I said Deion Jackson. You said Zach Moss.
That's right.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
I just want to hear one phrase from you. I just want to say, just give me this one thing. Just you were right, and we'll let it go. We can move on.
Correct.
Okay, you're going to find a loophole. You're going to find something dumb to try to get out of it. Nope, I was right. I'm the guy who called it. Now, honestly, it was a 50-50 shot. I was honestly surprised by the usage rates of them both. I kind of thought it'd be more 50-50. But nah, man, as you said, apparently he was having some issues on the sideline and yelling about his usage. And that may have cost him his touches in the second half. So
more than likely, I mean, regardless, they both sucked. Like they were both not startable, but I mean, still, Zach Moss had the better game than Deion Jackson for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's start moving into our banter. And what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go look back at me and Colton's draft class that we had at the start of the season, and we're going to go ahead and just talk about like the first two rounds and say where we would draft each player now. So we're nearing towards the end of the season. I mean, most people are either ending their fantasy run, but we just wanted to look at some history. And so I want to start with this first person, which is the biggest bust of any bust. since Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, for sure.
A couple of years ago. But number one overall, and I'm sure it was number one in multiple leagues, but it was the man himself, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
What a legend.
Yeah, this one hurts. I don't know if I like vocalized this enough, but I was so out on Jonathan Taylor this year.
Yeah.
I was beating that drum all off season that like statistically there was zero chance he entered the number one spot again. And everybody was like, well, he still has top 5, capacity and control and possibility. And I didn't see it. I was out on Matt Ryan. I didn't like Matt Ryan at all this year. So I thought this was just a dumpster fire from the get-go, and it ended up being a dumpster fire. He got injured. He's a small back. None of this worked out at all. Disaster of a pick.
Yeah, it's tough. And it's tough to have the number one overall pick for sure because this is a prime example of just everything's pointing at this guy, and you have to pick him because he's the number one. Like, he was the number one last year, so you have to pick him this year. I mean, but he's just one of these guys. Like, number one is it's just the worst pick ever, dude. I would never. It would be such a tough decision having the 101 pick.
And what sucks is, like, this was number one overall pick in our keeper league. And the startup of a keeper league, I think that's the most important draft you can have is the startup of a keeper. This will determine for a long time what your team is going to look like. And, missing on a guy like Jonathan Taylor, not good. Not a good move. I like to draft very conservative. So to be quite honest with you, in this pick, the first overall pick, I think I would have gone Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, he should have been the number one pick. I agree. Jonathan Taylor, though, I wouldn't pick him till probably if I was looking back, I mean, I probably wouldn't even pick him.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want him. With how bad he did this year, you're just not picking him. With hindsight.
For real. At this point, I think you're either picking him like later in the rounds.
Yeah.
Or because he did have a couple of great games. So you would pick him later in the rounds, like maybe 15, 16, or maybe 14, but
I just don't know that I even want the headache. Yeah, like he's just I think I'll just stay away from it. So number 2 I think is appropriate. I think it's exactly where it should be. Austin Eckler went number 2, and I really thought that because the guy who picked him in our league, he's a massive Vikings fan. So I thought like 1,000% it was going to be Justin Jefferson off the board here. No chance he's not taking him. And he took Eckler, which is turning out to be phenomenal. He is a great running back, especially in the PPR format. He gets all the usage over there, and he's a fantasy rock star. This guy, I mean, that's all you can say about him. Nothing but positive things to say about his performances this year.
Yeah, he has been. He's probably the only running back that has several, like at least half of his games are over 25 points.
Yeah, so good, man.
Like, so. I think this is appropriate too. This one's interchangeable with the 2 and 3 for me. But yeah, the number 3 guy is Christian McCaffrey for us. Christian McCaffrey was drafted 3 overall. Since he has moved to the San Francisco 49ers, he's been really good. We have seen flashes of him splitting the carries with Elijah Mitchell, though. So this is kind of concerning looking into next year, because this is something that you might see as a pattern for next year, seeing Christian McCaffrey splitting carries with Elijah. So I would limit your expectations for him next year, because Elijah Mitchell's coming back. I mean, he's still going to be good. Christian McCaffrey's still going to be the number 1 guy over there, but he's probably going to be splitting carries. Because that's how Shanahan likes to run his offense. So I think it's appropriate to have him at the 3 spot. I think this is a pretty good, solid pick too.
Yeah, not bad. It looked like a bad pick, but it's turning out to be a really good one.
Yeah, it is. And sorry to Andre, who traded Christian McCaffrey to me for Cooper Kupp.
Oh my gosh. You jumped off that grenade at the perfect time, man.
I did, and it was probably one of the best trades I've had like ever.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's probably the best trade I've ever had or I've ever made. But yeah, it's rough. So yeah, I would keep him at 3. That's perfectly fine for me. This is the number one guy for me. It's Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Nothing but elite stuff from him. I mean, he's only had a couple of games under 10 points. So every other game has been his last 3 games, and this is for playoffs, have been over 30 points.
Yeah, you're not getting that sort of production anywhere else. He's so freaking good. The targets always go to him. I mean, he has had, let's count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's had 7 games of over 30 points, and one of those, the one I didn't count that would have brought it to 8, was 29.34 fantasy points.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, almost 8 of his games, he's given you 30 points of production. Dude, you're not finding that anywhere else. It just doesn't exist. Like, he's clearing away the best player in football right now. In my opinion, I don't understand how he's not the MVP. He's not going to get it, but, like, he is clearly the most valuable player on that roster. He just broke Randy Moss's single-season yardage record for the Vikings. Dude, he's phenomenal. He's so good.
Yeah, he's the number one guy for both of us. He's so good.
Baller.
All right, number 5 is Jamar Chase on our list. This is drafted by you, Koltsky. You are the one that pulled the trigger on Jamar Chase here. Well, I mean, he was limited with injury, so he missed like a solid 5 weeks due to injury. So that's tough to see. He was on IR, so you kept him on your IR spot. Yeah, I would still draft him in the 2nd round, honestly.
To be honest,
even with those, yeah,
I think. Given hindsight, given what he produced, I'm still grabbing him in the 2nd round. Maybe bottom first, because like here's the reason why I took Jamar Chase, and this is what I expected the numbers to show. His ceiling is not as high as Justin Jefferson, but his floor is higher. So like you look at his games, he doesn't have a single game this season that he was able to play under 10 fantasy points. He doesn't have a single-digit game the entire season, but he has 30-point games. He has almost 4 30-point games, so not to the level of, J. Jeff, but he also missed a significant amount of time. He missed 4 games in the middle of the season. 4 games. And then, you cut a bye week too. So, like, he's not going to be Justin Jefferson great, but, dude, his floor is just, you're going to get 10 to 13 points out of him on a bad day. And on a good day, you're getting 35 out of him. So I still think that's...
Yeah, I mean, that's solid.
Yeah, that's bottom... I'd say that's bottom 1st round pick, high 2nd round pick production that you kind of get out of him. But I love him for keeper. I love having him for future seasons. Yeah,
he's going to be good for future seasons. I mean, if you have a floor that's 10, that's good. That's really solid.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a great starting point.
You're not complaining with that.
This next one, though, 6. I'm sure you're complaining.
Number 6 for me, it was Cooper Kupp. Here's the thing. So I made the trade to trade away Cooper Kupp for Christian McCaffrey at the perfect time.
Yeah.
I mean, before I traded him in week 9, so after week 9, and that was his last solid game. I mean, he was putting up great points for me up until week 9, and there was a couple of games that were just like he didn't have a game that was under 15 points.
Yeah.
Whenever he was healthy. That's the thing. I mean, the problem with Cooper Kupp, though, for Dynasty and Keeper, he's only got a few years left. I mean, he's 29. He's nearing the end of his career.
Going to be 30 this upcoming season. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be 30 soon. So for Dynasty's sake, I'm really glad that I jumped off of this Cooper Kupp train whenever I could. I mean, he's been shut down for this past the rest of the season. He's not going to play another game probably. Next year, we'll see. Matthew Stafford doesn't plan on retiring, so that's where Cooper Kupp is good. So we'll see if he has maybe another year left to produce fantasy value. So I mean, that's just something we have to see and we have to monitor as well because. He's going to be back next year. He will be back. But will he be as good as he was last year and at the start of this year? That's the big question.
We just don't know. I don't know. I'm fading him big time. This team seems to be a dumpster fire, and they don't have picks, so just not sure.
Yeah, they don't have picks at all. I mean, it's really only Cooper Kupp. That was the issue throughout the season. It was really only Cooper Kupp that was producing anything. And so at this point, you're probably not drafting him if you knew that he had half the season to miss, then he would probably be maybe in the 4th round, 5th round ish. I mean, because he's still giving you half of a season, so I mean that's not too bad. But yeah, it's rough for Cooper Kupp owners that drafted him
for
at
sure
the start of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. Those weeks that he wasn't, he's probably winning you some of those weeks. Like his production was solid. So yeah, you're right. Probably around a 5th round guy, even knowing the injury's coming.
Yeah, I mean he's really good too. Like I mean he's one of those elite guys that, especially this year, before he got injured, he was one of those elite guys that was putting up a consistent 20 points, like at least 20 points, which is a really good floor. His floor was 15, and that's good to have. So, top 5th round, late 4th, high 5th round. Maybe
that's fair. I'd say that's right around it. Mm-hmm. So far, I mean, let's look. 1, 2, 3. So far, you have a 50% hit rate. The only guys you'd take in the first are Eckler, McCaffrey, J-Jeff.
Yeah.
So 50% hit rate in the first round. The next guy, obvious first rounder, Derric Henry.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot say this enough on how much he always proves me wrong. Like. Yeah, he's just defying stats at this point, man. Like everything that says he should be done, he just goes against it every time. So I don't know. Yeah. He is a tank. This guy his motor doesn't quit. Took him a few weeks to get going. 8 points for both of his 2 games, and then dude, he just doesn't stop after that.
He
just killed it. Yeah, he just kept going and going and going. And I think if I had him right now, like if I'm redrafting. I think he's in the top 5. Like I'd probably have him in the top 5 picks. And so
I think he's the next best running back after McCaffrey, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, like it would be for running backs. It would be Eckler, McCaffrey, and Derrick Henry.
Well, maybe Saquon Barkley, but he had a chunk there in the middle where he wasn't doing so hot. So I don't even know if he would come close to. I think you're right. I think it's got to be. It's got to be Henry. Like he's the third. The only thing that limits is his PPR downside. Like he just doesn't get catches, but it doesn't seem to matter. The guy's just a beast.
Yeah, he is. He's just so good. I mean, yeah, he would be the number 3 running back for me. I mean, he's just his floor has been like 15 points, which is great. I mean, that's what you want. Mm-hmm. He's been really consistent, solidly putting up like around 20 points, which is pretty average, which is pretty good for an average. So, yeah, I mean that's solid. I mean I think he would be right after Christian McCaffrey for running backs. So right now it looks like we have Justin Jefferson, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, and then Derrick Henry.
Thanks again, Henry. Right? You've done it again. Douche. He does it every year. I'm going to do it next year too. I'm going to say the same thing. I already know it.
You sure are. Yeah, I know you are. Yeah.
Every time.
All right. This 8th pick. This one was not bad. I mean, it wasn't a bad pick. It's solid. He's been healthy the whole year, which is surprising. It's Dalvin Cook. Mm-hmm. Dalvin Cook he's been pretty average. I mean, that's something that I would say. I mean, he's put up really good weeks and then he's put up really bad weeks. I mean, his floor was about 6 points maybe. His ceiling was about 30. So I mean, that's a pretty broad analysis right there, but I mean, he's been solid for that team. I mean, Justin Jefferson is obviously the top dog and the top guy over there in Minnesota. So you're obviously relying more on the passing game with the Vikings. So, I mean, Kirk Cousins and They said it in the start of the season too, before the season even started, that they were going to rely more on the passing game, which they have. And so, Dalvin Cook, if you've had Dalvin Cook this past week or this past year, you're not complaining about it. I feel like it was solid. Like it was a solid output for him this year.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's been yeah, you're right. Like it's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst production for a guy. So, yeah, I don't hate what you've been able to get out of him. I don't know. This is another thing where like his floor, his games, they're 7, 8, 9, but he's had some games where he's popped off 27, 26, 25 for you too. So, yeah, when you start getting to that mid-first round, I don't know what more you could want out of a guy, How much longer he can do it, I'm not sure, but at least this season has been a pretty good year for him, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think he's still a top 10 pick, honestly. Like, he could still be drafted in the top 10.
I agree.
But, yeah, I mean, 8 is where he was drafted in our league, so, I mean, it's not too bad. It's right around the ballpark, I think. This next guy, though, this was a rough one.
Dude, big bust. This one hurts.
Najee Harris. Najee Harris is our next number 9 overall pick. Yeah, it's not been great. He's only had one game over 20 points.
Jeez, is that low? My gosh.
Yeah. So his ceiling is around 20. But that's the best that he can do, and his lowest is probably like 5 points, which is rough. So I mean, like he was really great last year with Big Ben, but I kind of saw this coming with the shaky quarterback play over there in Pittsburgh. I mean, you have to have a good foundation for a quarterback in order for a running back to have good success. I mean, this was the problem with Najee. I mean, all up leading into the year. So maybe next year they'll have better steady play, because I think Najee Harris is great. Like he's good, but he just doesn't have a team to back him up really.
No,
that's the problem with him.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. I from the second he came out of college, I didn't like Najee Harris. I thought he was way too slow. I thought he didn't have enough juke ability, and he's not powerful enough. So he's not Derrick Henry, but he's not Zeke, and he's not. I mean, he's a very average back who played at a really big school. And the only thing that saved him is his ridiculous target share on those stupid dump-off passes. Like, I remember one game he had like 13 catches on one game last year from Big Ben. And they were all just little dump-down screenplays or, something small like that. And that saved him. Now Big Ben is gone. He's not getting that work. He's been a very, very average NFL running back, which is kind of what I thought he would be. He can maybe be a bruiser. I get it. Like, sure, he'll pick you up 50 to 90 yards in a game, but he hasn't broken off, 100 yards to 150, 200 yards games like Henry does. He's not electric enough, and he doesn't have he's not elusive. He doesn't have the power. It's just, he's a weird guy I was out on him from the get-go. He doesn't have any upside, in my opinion. So, I'm not targeting him next season. I think he just continues to decline. Yeah, I don't know. He's just one of those guys that are just sort of meh to me, which, to be fair, I thought that way about Derrick Henry for a long time, too. So maybe I'm completely off. But
it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in the offseason.
Yeah.
That's kind of the main focal point for his success, I think, because he needs something. I feel like if they need to either get Kenny Pickett some more experience, so that way he can be successful in this league, because they just drafted him. I mean, I don't know. Mitchell Trubisky sucks. Like he's not their franchise quarterback. So I mean, it has to be, they either try to teach Kenny Pickett, or they just start over again and draft another quarterback, which I'm almost guaranteeing that's not going to happen.
Because they just
next year.
Again, they don't lose enough. Like, they do good enough to stay relevant, and when they do that, they keep. I don't know. They keep putting themselves I think Mike Tomlin, he is either tied or is one league ahead of setting the record for the most playoff appearances in a row by a head coach since he's entered the league. Crazy. Like, he's been so steady. But unfortunately, that means a lot of low picks. And I think they're entering a full rebuild phase where you lost your wide receivers, you've lost your offensive line, you've lost your defensive line. They have lost so much. And the only thing they got lucky with was TJ Watt, and they got him with the 26th pick, I think, maybe 27th, 28th pick. But other than that, man, like, they didn't draft Minka. Minka came over there. They haven't drafted a big name wide receiver or offensive lineman in a very long time. I look at the squad, man, and it just screams rebuild. But I don't know that Mike Tomlin has the ability to do that because he's such a good coach. Like, he can coach this team to 8-9 or 9-8.
Yeah, he can.
So it's like, okay, well, you're just destined to keep turning over 15 to 20 overall draft picks, right? And you just have to keep hitting. So I don't know that they're in a weird. They are, to me, very similar to the Washington Commanders, where, like, for different reasons they're going to finish average, and it's going to cost you just have to, I think, bite the bullet and say, okay, well, we're just going to cut out for a few years and lose, but get great players, hopefully.
Right. Yeah, for me, I think Najee Harris would be maybe like round 5. I would take him around that maybe. But I mean, nothing special. Like, it would just be like, shoot, this is the last guy I gotta get.
Yeah, no, he's just a guy to me. Like, I just don't see anything special about him. So I'm with you. I think I'm around that same spot, round 5, and it's only because, like, of his volume. You know he's going to get good volume. He's not going to do great things with that volume, but he'll at least have the high upside of it, you know?
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the 10th pick in the keeper league draft. Joe Mixon, and this one's not too bad. He had all of his points come in week 9 versus the Carolina Panthers. 55 is his ceiling.
My gosh, man.
And then, like, every other game has been average at best. I mean, it's been in the teens, which isn't too bad. I mean, it's solid, but it's not anything like. It's not running back one material.
No,
I should say.
No, he was due to have some negative regression for sure. Like, he played out of his mind last year. I didn't see it happening. I think the person to take here would be Saquon. Saquon, I think, is deserving to have that top 10 pick. He again, has sort of trailed off, similar to Nick Chubb, but he's just played so good for most of the season that, especially coming off of his ACL injury stuff, he could have comeback player of the year this season. So, I don't know. We'll see. But I didn't like Mixon that high. I get why you had to take him because he was RB3 the season before. Like, it's not like he had a bad season the year before. He had a really, really good season. So, I don't know. It's an interesting one, but I think I'd probably go quads above him.
Yeah, and he's been great.
He has.
I think now at this point, I think I would take Mixon around maybe the 3rd round. I would still take him around the 3rd round, like maybe bottom 3. But he was taken at the top 10 for us in our league. So,
dude, it's crazy how, like, similar we are, because that's exactly what I have him. I have him around the 3rd round as well, like right in that spot. It's like, okay, you produce good. He was ranked 37 on the whole year, not bad. But, like, as high as he went, I'd probably take him. I might even take him in the high 3rd round. But depending on how your draft lines up, if you need a running back in the 3rd round, like if you went wide receiver, he's not a bad RB1 to have in your 3rd round. But to be your first guy off the board, that's a bummer. That hurts. Did Luis keep him?
I don't know. No, Luis didn't keep him. He traded him away, remember?
Oh, he did. He's moved so many guys.
Yeah, he traded it away.
Dude, Luis's team, I don't know what, like, if you look at his squad, who is he going to keep? I'm just going to rattle off some names. You let me know if he's keeping him or not, right? So Breece Hall, probably a keeper, even with his injuries. Mm-hmm. Dallas Goedert, is he keeping him?
That's a tough one. Ugh, jeez. So yeah, I kind of already know who he's keeping because he's already kind of told me. But I mean, with the amount, with the lack of tight ends that are out there right now, I don't see how you can't keep Dallas Goedert.
Dude,
I mean,
he's been so good. Like, yeah, okay, he got injured,
he was injured,
but still, like, okay, if I'm Luis, I'm keeping Brees Hall, Dallas Goedert, probably Najee, unfortunately.
yeah.
But he just doesn't have a lot of options. Maybe Herbert. He's in love with Herbert, so he probably will keep the quarterback, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. So he has Justin Herbert, Najee Harris, and Brees Hall as his keepers, I think, right now. That's who he's told me, at least. I mean, it's Justin Herbert these past weeks has been not doing so hot, so it's
not keeper worthy.
It's hard to keep him, I think, at this point. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's rough. He's traded away all of his players. He's trying to get some keepers next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some picks out of it though, so hopefully it comes together. You know, he moved off Pat Mahomes, didn't he? That's who his original quarterback was. Man, yeah, nuts, just nuts. Hopefully it works out for him. Full rebuild time. Yeah, and now he gets punishment because he finished last.
Yeah, he has to get the punishment now. But that leads us to the next guy, which is DeAndre Swift, which is another person that Luis drafted. This one's rough. I mean, DeAndre Swift has not. He started out great. I'll give him that. Like, he started out really good. Yeah. 26 points, 16 points the next game. Then he gets injured. Doesn't play like that ever again until week 13, which is the only week that he has a solid performance. I mean, DeAndre Swift, dude, he is probably maybe 5th round, 6th round, maybe.
With all the vulturing touchdowns and frustration he brought this season, I would probably have him around there. Yeah, like, he's just been. I feel like anybody who's owned Swift has been so frustrated all year with him. Yeah, rightfully so.
And hopefully you got the backup. If you own Swift, hopefully you had a Jamal Williams, because he was the one that was getting all the carries and all the touchdowns. Man, he was so good this whole year. He was good. I mean, until last week and like a couple weeks before that. But I mean, he was good whenever. So, and I don't understand how Swift didn't get that many carries this past week. How did he not have a good game with Jamal Williams out? I mean, that's something that was kind of surprising to me. And so, I don't know. It's one thing to have Swift be such a PPR machine, but it's another thing to see him go out with injury and to have frustrating weeks because of lingering injuries and stuff like that. So, this is another guy that's kind of like a big bust. So, yeah, I'm kind of in the round 5, maybe 6 area for Swift.
I agree. Right around there. Okay, who's next here? Who do we have? What am I missing? Oh, I'm in the wrong. That's what it is. I was in the individual team one, not the total. Yeah. After Swift, we went Jones. Don't love it.
Jones. Yeah.
He's been pretty good most of the year, but I don't know. I think he's probably still a second round pick.
Yeah.
This season.
It's solid.
Yeah, it's not a horrible pick. I think there's guys you'd take obviously above him. I think he's probably a mid-second round pick to late second round pick right now, with guys like CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Saquon, Travis Kelce still available, Right. So I'd put him at like a mid to low second round pick.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think for where he was drafted here, it's not bad. I mean, but you could have gotten Saquon Barkley. But
exactly.
So yeah, I mean, he's been solid. I mean, he hasn't been like anything like too crazy. Like, he's been better than Mixon for sure. But I think that's a good spot for him, is around the bottom of the second round.
Okay. Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Next guy here is CeeDee Lamb, and I honestly love CeeDee Lamb. I think he's. Yeah, I think he's been great. So, and like for Dynasty specifically, he's still young and he's going to be great for futures. for futures to come. So he's been turning it on these last few games. I mean, 34 points this last game, 19 points the week before. He had a down week with Houston with 8 points, but everybody has a down week because Houston sucks. 20 points against the Colts, 17 points against the Giants. It's just like it's the consistency and the sometimes bomb games that he has for me that I really love. I mean, you love to see those games where he puts up like 35 points, which is something that he's done a couple times. So I mean, that's great. I mean, in the early stages of the season, he was just like trying to figure everything out still, it seemed like, but he really seemed to turn it on at the end, which is something that you love to see for Dynasty. So I think he's at a good spot here.
Yeah. See, yeah, I think you can make the argument that he deserves to be in the first round.
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah, I think he's probably a low first round grade, but yeah, high second round, I don't hate it. I think, you know, like everything you said is spot on, and he's still 23. Like, he's so young that if he can just get, you know, take that next step. I think this year was his coming out party, and everybody said that it was going to be, that this was the year that it was time to basically be the guy or you're not the guy, and he proved he's the guy. So next year, now feed the guy. He's proven what he is. Now it's time to scheme him up as your number one wide receiver, not, okay, prove it. No, it's time to get him the workload now. He should be seeing Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Adams. Like, that level of target share needs to be his weekly volume, just like all the other guys get, you know? Like, it's time for him to receive that workload. So, yeah. No, I love him, man. I'm so happy we picked him up.
Yeah,
so it's taken him a few years to sort of come into that role, but now that he's there, man, I don't think he wants to give it up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next guy on the list, Stephon Diggs. He has been really great until these past few weeks.
Until playoffs.
Until playoffs, he has been really great. I mean, knowing what I know with the playoff outlook, it's hard for me to pick him in the first round, but I think he deserves to be in the first round, honestly. He's been really good with this year with Josh Allen. Sucks that it came 1 year after I drafted him last year.
Yep.
But he has been putting it on with Josh Allen over there. I mean, they're just great. They're good. Like they know what to do. It's just not happening in the playoffs.
Yeah, and again, I just don't know if this is him being marked a ton, and you know, they're just not getting the looks they want from him. Maybe it's just a slump, and it just came at the worst possible time. They also have some pretty tough defense that they've been going against, so it could be a bunch of those things melted in together. So I don't know. Obviously, phenomenal wide receiver. He is coming up on 30, I think. What is he? 28 right now.
I think he's 28, so he's 29 next year.
Yeah, so he's getting close to that age where you start to see a dive. I think for dynasty and fantasy purposes, I'd be looking to probably move him. So, he just turned 29 in November. So this is his 29 going into 30 season. So I think this year, if there's ever a point where you can move Diggs and still get a good value, I'm probably moving Diggs this season. But I agree. I think he's probably that first-round pick status. He's just been so solid this year. And I can't believe he slipped and other guys were taken ahead of him, to be quite honest. Some of the other guys that went ahead of him, it's just like, damn, how did we miss on him? Let him get to Washington Sentinels.
Yeah, man, he was one of my guys that I was going to take over Cooper Kupp, but you guys let me have Cooper Kupp, and then unfortunately I had to take him because
you can't take the MVP, basically.
I would have taken him in the first round. I would have taken him early in the first round. So, I mean...
Yeah, you would have been high. Yep, because I remember you were talking. We were having those discussions early, and you and I were picking back-to-back. So it was really hard... Because you were like, well, if you don't go Chase, I'm going Chase. But if you do go Chase, then I'm going Diggs because Kupp's off the board and Jefferson's off the board. So you want a running back in the first round. Wide receiver. And basically the whole offseason we were talking about was like, you were going wide receiver, I was going wide receiver. I wanted Jamar Chase, you wanted Stephon Diggs. Mm-hmm. And then the sort of wild card got thrown in there where somebody... picked up Austin Eckler, and I think that threw things for a loop a little bit. We thought Cooper Kupp would go off and Eckler be the one to fall, but it went the other way around.
Right.
And so,
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I was so set on getting a receiver the first round, and I'm still upset about this to this day, where I could have gotten Derrick Henry, and depending on where the Cooper Kupp train would have landed after, because Cooper Camp landed onto me, he probably would have gotten picked right after me. I probably would have gotten Stephon Diggs.
yeah, but then you're missing Saquon.
But then
and
I'm
Saquon's
missing Saquon,
26.
so yeah.
And so the younger guy. I would have loved it because then I would have had Saquon instead of the guy who I picked.
Yeah. Let's move on real quick. Let's go to Saquon Barkley. That was my pick at pick 15. I would have missed on Saquon if I would have gotten Derrick Henry. So things happen for a reason. I got Cooper Kupp, and luckily I traded him away before he got injured. And I got Christian McCaffrey. So, I mean, things worked out for me. Saquon Barkley for Dynasty, he's got to be in the top 10. I feel like especially if we're redrafting today, like he would be definitely one of the top guys getting picked off the board. I really wish the Giants, like, honestly, I hope he gets traded this year. I really do. I don't know if it's going to happen, but he just needs a better situation to go into, I feel like, to be successful.
He's an unrestricted free agent. He can go anywhere now. Like, he has the option now. So maybe he does decide to bail and go somewhere else. I could see it being a better out for him if he lands on the correct team. I don't know what team that is, though. Like, I just don't know where he goes and he has more success right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know either. There's rumors about the Bills taking him next year. I mean, that would be crazy.
Yeah, but do they now? With how good James Cook has shown to be in the second half of the season, do they need to spend the draft capital and money when they still have to pay guys who are coming out? Like, I think Josh Allen's still on his rookie deal, isn't he?
No, he got signed. He got signed
did he? Okay.
To a real deal. So I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know where he would. I don't know where else he would land to be successful. That's the thing. Like, I have no. I do not know a team right now where he could land.
I don't hate him on the Giants. I just don't hate him there. I think that's probably a really good spot for him as they continue to feed him a ton. They don't want it to be in a committee field. They have the money to pay him. They're not going to let him go. It won't be because of money that they lose him. So I just don't see a world where he's the guy that walks in this situation. And I again, he's getting like 25 touches a game. The volume is there. They're rebuilding their offensive line. Maybe in the offseason they find that last piece. But it's not a horrible spot for him.
Yeah,
could be a lot worse. Could be like Denver.
Yeah, yeah, that would be terrible. All right, let's do this last one, Colton. Let's wrap this up a little early. And I want to say yours because this one's rough. Javonte Williams was your 16th pick in our draft. Dude, honestly, the promise was there for him.
Everything showed that he was going to be that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything showed that he was going to be great. I mean, he started off the year really good. Honestly, he started the year with 19 points. That's great. He fell off a little bit the next two games, and then week 4 he got injured. So
out for the season,
dude. Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's
by the
undraftable.
way, when I drafted my team, I had so much running back depth. Okay, let me just go through very fast. I'm going to go through my injuries that I had this year by round. Jamar Chase, injured. Javonte Williams, second-round pick, injured. Michael Pittman, not injured. He was my third-round pick. Yeah, he just wasn't too good. J.K. Dobbins, injured. He was my fourth-round pick. Fifth-round pick, Travis Etienne, not injured, and a pretty good pick, I think, for a fifth-round guy.
Yeah.
A.J. Dillon, not injured, he didn't ever show up. Joe Burrow as the quarterback, loved him all year. He's been so great. Breece Hall in the 8th round, steal of the draft from what it was looking like. Dude was so dominant. I thought, man, I got this in the bag. I have so many running backs who are just killing it. He's averaging like 20 a game for me. Injured, tore his ACL out for the year. Marquise Brown injured. I mean, Traylon Burks injured. Dak Prescott injured. I just could not catch a break, bro. This whole season. I'm hoping for health next year is all I want from my roster because I picked the right guys. I picked the most injury-prone roster known to man. So that blows. And I'll be sticking away from injured guys.
Out of your whole squad, out of 15 people, 7 of your players that you drafted had injuries.
Yep.
And it's funny. It's so funny because you were really adamant about like injury-prone players and like people that
I picked youth for
risky.
that reason. Yeah, I went with youthful running backs because I was like, it's a deep position. You need a lot of them. So I'm picking guys who are youthful. Yeah. And I picked like all guys who are like 23, 24 years old. And half my freaking squad goes down and gets injured. It's insane.
It's rough, dude. It's so rough. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Blows.
All right. Those are the first couple of rounds. Let's move on, though, because we've been on this for a while. But yeah, just a lot. I mean, honestly, Javonte Williams would probably be undraftable at this point. Here.
Yeah, no, he's probably undraftable. And I passed on Travis Kelce, by the way, for those who are wondering, who was picked right after. It was Kelce. So,
yeah,
yay.
You could have gotten Kelce.
Damn it.
All right. There's always next year.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Playing for next
season. You're playing for next season, right? All right, let's move on to King of the Hill. Some shockers at running back. Cam Akers was the running back one this week.
Yeah,
what's going
let's
on
go.
Here? This is how you win your leagues at the end of the year. He wasn't started. I guarantee you, he wasn't started by anybody. But
yeah, unless you're just in a massive pinch. But you're right. Like no one's starting this guy.
Yeah, unless you're in a massive pitch. But yeah, Cam Akers, number one running back. Nobody saw it coming. CeeDee Lamb, number one wide receiver. Great game from him.
Oh, yeah.
Great to see it. You love to see it. Love that the Cowboys beat the Eagles, too, by the way.
For sure.
We're both
Big
Cowboys
time.
fans. But Colton, let's start with your Prince of the Hill for running backs.
Yeah, so I'm taking a safe approach this week. I went risky in previous weeks. I'm going safe this week. Prince of the Hill for running back. I'm going to go Barkley. They have the Colts, who are one of the worst rushing defenses in the league.
They really are.
Pretty easy. And my second pick, I didn't like, but you baited me into it. I'm going Alvin Kamara against the Eagles, which I hate as a pick, but maybe his talent just overcomes.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup for Alvin Kamara. He was after Travis Kelce in our draft. But he has not been doing that great this year. But we'll see. Maybe he can step it up. He got a touchdown this past week, didn't he? I think he got a touchdown this past week. So
yeah, no, he did already. He got like 17 points this week. It was a decent week from him.
Solid game from Alvin Kamara. Yeah, I love Barkley. I mean, obviously Barkley's locked in. Which is surprising because he had a little stretch there in a few weeks before where he was getting very little work and very little usage. But yeah, Barkley's been turning it up and like he's back in your lineup for the rest of the season. It seems like. Yeah,
great matchups.
Mm-hmm. And for my Prince of the Hill, I'm gonna go with Christian McCaffrey. He's been great. He's still great. He's the only guy out there. He's playing against the Las Vegas Raiders. Love the matchup. They're playing in a dome, which is great. Love that. So yeah, give me some Christian McCaffrey. And for my running up the hill, I'm going with James Conner. Going up against Atlanta, easy matchup. James Conner has been turning it up, especially with Kyler Murray not there. So yeah, give me some James Conner. I think he has another great week.
Okay. Yeah. So, not horrible picks, honestly. Connor is one that I sort of overlook every week, but hell, maybe this could be his week.
Yeah. I mean, he's the only one that did anything this past week.
True. Yeah, I mean, which is nuts. I mean, when I look from week 10, he's had 4 games over 20 points, and one of them was 18. That was almost 5. So like, yeah, he's been dynamite at the end of the year here.
Yeah. He has.
Great for like an RB2.
Mm-hmm. All right, Colton, why don't you rattle off your Prince of the Hill for wide receivers?
You gotta say rattle off. That makes it sound like you just don't even care. You're just like, get your bad picks, rattle them off.
Yeah,
just
because mine are
get
going to
them
win.
over with.
That's why. Mine are going to win.
No, because I'm, again, going great picks. CD Lamb. He just won. He's doing it again. We saw J. Jeff do it. Neither of us picked J. Jeff. And I remember when we were doing this, you were like, CD Lamb again? And I was like, yeah, because he's going to do it. He's going against the Titans, who have the worst passing defense in all of the NFL. So worst rush and worst pass defense I have this week. So I'm hoping for big things. CeeDee Lamb's going to do it. And if not, my backup's pretty great. Chris Godwin, dude has been receiving a stupid target share for like the past 4 or 5 weeks now. He's averaging like 13 targets a game. So I think that's enough for me to feel confident and as him, which is kind of nuts. He's like wide receiver 22 right now. But works for me because it gives me the opportunity to pick him.
Mm-hmm. All right. Time for my winners because they're both winning.
Okay.
My Prince of the Hill is going to be Amon-Ruski St. Brown. I am going with the man, the myth, the legend. He has been undervalued and underutilized these last few weeks. And this is the game that he goes off. This is the last game for your fantasy playoffs. This is the one where he goes off and he puts up a dynamite game. Amon-Ruski is going to be the number one wide receiver this week. And for my running up the hill candidate, I'm going with Keenan Allen. Safe bet. Even with Justin Herbert performing super terrible, Keenan Allen's been surviving and winning people some championships. So he is.
I really like your wide receivers this week. I don't know how I feel about your running backs now that you've got to talk on them. I actually think they're pretty solid picks. You got some great picks this week, man. You knocked this week out of the park.
Oh, I know. I'm winning this week again, Colton. It's
No,
going to be 4-3 and it's going to be 4-2-1.
No, not happening
Next week. Yep. All right, let's bounce into the waivers. First things first, let's talk about Cam Akers. This guy has just performed a dominant game. Honestly, they don't have anything else other than Tyler Higbee, which is also in our waivers. But Cam Akers, man, I don't know. It's rough because he's not going to perform. He's not going to do what he just did again. Like he's not going to do that same thing again. But he is somebody that could have a decent matchup with the amount of work that he's getting. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he should be in lineups. I mean, you definitely don't want anybody else playing him. They're going up against the Chargers next week, so it's not a bad matchup if you need a running back for this last week of playoffs. I mean, you got to look at him, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. At the very least, it's enough for you to say, okay, his workload is there, and the team probably feels the same to where he's going to at least get the touches. Even if he didn't produce the same, the volume will be there most likely.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Next person is Jahan Dotson on the Commanders. The Commanders have been using him a lot more, and with Carson Wentz back, I feel like he was one of Carson Wentz's favorite targets. It's weird because Taylor Heineke throws to Terry McLaurin more, but Carson Wentz throws to every other receiver more. So I feel like this is where Jahan Dotson kind of dominates a little bit more. So Jahan Dotson is definitely somebody to look out for. So, like, especially if you have a pretty risky matchup in your next upcoming game. So, I mean, absolutely. He's a solid play, solid flex play, I think.
Yep. All the reasoning is there. Let's hope he hits.
Mm-hmm. And for the reason why Zach Wilson is not starting, Mike White is back into the streaming category for QB, which makes everybody on the Jets better, by the way. Everybody
no kidding.
Will be better with Mike White out there. So he's gonna start. So he'll be good. I mean, he's playing up against the Seattle, which isn't too bad of a matchup. Their defense isn't what they used to be. I mean, their defense started really good, but over the last few weeks, they haven't been doing as well as they should be. So yeah, I think Mike White will be really good this week.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, good pick.
Mm-hmm. All right, next person is Tyler Higbee for tight end. So he just came off an amazing game. I mean, they don't have any weapons over there really for the Rams. So I mean, this is just one other guy that Baker's going to be targeting. He's becoming one of his favorite targets. So yeah, I mean, Tyler Higbee is a solid tight end pickup, I think, at this point. But yeah.
Yeah, dude, he's been so good the past few weeks, and I think Baker has developed a really good connection with him because he's been the only guy who's been able to stay on the field. So yeah, I think it's so weird. All these guys were like turnoffs the whole season, and now that Baker's come in, of all people, Baker has come in and like revolutionized the squad. So yeah, tight ends. If you're needing one, which most people are, then yeah, I would feel comfortable starting Higbee in the playoffs in the championship round.
Yeah, in the championship round for sure. Yeah, I mean, I am looking into. So I'm in my Super Bowl in our playoff game, and I'm looking to just pick up Tyler Higbee so that way my opponent doesn't pick up Tyler Higbee in the Super Bowl.
You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to
so
play
I don't
him.
have to play him. So I don't have to play against him. So I'm not going to play him. I have George Kittle, so I'll be all right. But yeah, I mean, if you need to block somebody, then pick up Tyler Higbee. But yeah. All right, next person on the list is Elijah Moore. Especially with Mike White coming back, he should have more targets. Everybody plays better with Mike White there. Elijah Moore is somebody to target. Yeah, I mean, he'll have a solid game for you. I feel like this is somebody that needs more work. Garrett Wilson's going to be the number one guy, but Elijah Moore will be right after him. I feel like they're going up against Seattle, so it shouldn't be too tough of a task for Elijah Moore to get a touchdown out there. So definitely,
I like it. Not a bad pick.
Mm-hmm. All right, and last but not least, our streaming defense of the week is the New York Giants. They are going up against the Indianapolis Colts, who are not starting Matt Ryan anymore. Everybody's just so bad on the Colts right at this point. This is such a good streaming defense, the Giants. So, yeah, look for the Giants going into your Super Bowl for fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, Giants D. Thibodeau is coming alive, dude. He is finding his stride in this defense now. So they're finding sacks, man. They're becoming dangerous. If they can get another piece or two in the offseason, watch out for this team, but especially this week. You don't even know who their quarterback is going to be, so they should be able to get out. I mean, what they played? So they're playing the Colts, right?
Yeah.
The Colts who just gave up 7 sacks last night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Been like 2 or 3 interceptions. This should be a bloodbath. So yeah.
I saw the stat line on Herbert and I was just like, oh my gosh, the Chargers lost.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh wait, never mind. They played against the Colts, who only put up 3 points.
Dude, they said I don't know if you weren't watching the broadcast from the sounds of it, but the announcers were saying, Troy Aikman was saying, like, the defensive linemen were literally lining up, begging the coach to get on the field to see if they could get their sack. That's how bad it got. Like, they were like, Coach, please put me on. I can get a sack during this game.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's so crazy. Like,
that blows.
Just like, they need to do something over there. The Colts definitely need something in the offseason to get them going.
They got to do a lot, man.
They need a quarterback. They just need a steady quarterback, I think.
True.
You were right, Colton. I'll give it to you again. I think I said it earlier, but you were right about Matt Ryan. Like, I mean, everything about him and about this team has just been poopy. So
yeah, big time. They have sucked, man. They have not been good this year. So yeah, they have a lot of pieces they need to go after to try to make this. Most of all, a quarterback, but yeah, so defensive players would help, offensive line and quarterback. So we'll see if they can put it together in the offseason.
Yeah. All right, I think that does it for today, Coltski. Anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, nothing here. Just all that I hope you all have a happy new year now that the Christmas season is over.
Yeah. I hope everybody has a great rest of the year. Just want to say a bad luck to my opponent in the Super Bowl, Davs. You're going down, my friend. And I hope everybody who is in the Super Bowl in their leagues wins their leagues this week. Have a good start to the new year. So, yeah, this will do it for us. This is the last show of the year, Koltsky. So
I know. Yeah.
we will see you guys next year, next Tuesday. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. All right, everybody. Well, I appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. You can reach out to us on Twitter at halftime_ADJ. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon Podcasts as well. Yeah, that does it for us today, and we will see you guys next week. Later.
Bye.